Good afternoon, everybody. Bernie Floresca with Career Services with the follow-up to the C-Suite Career Strategy on January 22nd, 2026. And today we have joining us Atishay and Radhika, who were both at yesterday's session. If anybody else jumps on, we will welcome them, obviously, and ask them to share. But the reason we kind of continued this is, like I shared at yesterday's session, part of the benefit of knowing the information is in the application of the information, such that as you start applying the knowledge, you will obviously run into certain things. And you have a coach that is guiding you through those things that are in the beginning uncomfortable. And hopefully, the more that you practice, it will become much better to support you in your job search. So let's start with Atishay and Radhika sharing. I actually warmed them up a little before the recording. So welcome to the people listening into the recording. I guess Atishay and Radhika, if you kind of share what you shared with me earlier and what you're hoping to get out of this call, so that the listeners know what to expect within the next hour. So go ahead, whoever wants to go first.
So I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I think that from where I come from India, and we don't really do the small talk. There's nothing known as the small talk.
Mhm.
What I want from this session, what I'm expecting is that I learn how to do that, the act of small talk, and how to confidently do that so that it doesn't look fake. It looks
Mhm.
genuine. So that's what
Yes.
I'm expecting.
Very good. Thank you, Radhika. We'll definitely address that. Atishay?
Thank you. Yesterday's session was really insightful, and I do have a better understanding of small talks and how to reach out to people now. But one thing that I want to get out of this session is that, uh, how to do that action uh, in an event. For example, it's pretty easy to reach out to someone on LinkedIn or via mail. But what if that person is in front of you? How to initiate the conversation and how to, find that door opener, which can lead to long-term connections.
Very good. Thank you, Atishay. So what I want to do so that it bridges the information for the people who are joining this information for the first time, let me just share what we're talking about. Both Atishay and Radhika mentioned small talk. So here's what I would like to do. So if you're part of the Career Services group, how do you join the Career Services group if you're not part of it? All you have to do in the search box is type in Illinois Tech. Actually, let me go to home. Click home once you're in home. Otherwise, you won't find it. Illinois Tech Career Services. You want the group. If you're not part of the group, it's going to say join. If you're part of the group, all you have to do is just click view posts. And once in the group, Radhika, Atishay, how do I find the index, the most important document?
So it's usually under the comment section, is what I
Comment
know.
section in any of the posts. So all they have to do is just scroll down. They scroll down until they see 24/7 index. So there is one. 24/7 index. I'll just keep scrolling until I see it again. You can click of any of them, obviously. Once you click that, it brings you to this website that actually just captures which questions students are asking about. There's a video that explains this, and then here are the topics. So the topic we're talking about today is business relations. If people had resume questions, they can click on resume or they can click on LinkedIn. Hashtag international is an important piece of information, especially for international students, so that you're not wasting your time going to companies who are not international friendly. So let me just click business relations. Once you click business relations, it brings you to this document. And if you notice, it took us to the business relations section. Okay. So for the topic of career strategy, more specifically, one of the strategies being creating relationships with professionals out in the field. Highlighted in yellow, it says advocates. And then actually, I want to check in a little with Radhika and Atishay. What did you learn yesterday about the difference between referrals and advocates?
So one major difference that I learned is that referral is like a kind of an instance where a person can just provide your name. Yeah, I mean, you can provide a person's name in application. So referral can be application based, or it can be based on a person going to their leads and giving you a referral. But advocate is kind of different, because in that scenario, uh, you are considered as an asset, and the person referring you will actually kind of uh, try their best in order to get you in the company.
Yeah, they will advocate for you. That's why they're
Yeah.
called advocates. So they're looking out for you. Anything else to add to that, Radhika?
Yes, I would like to add that also one thing I learned is referral is similar to a connection, but advocate, on the other hand, means relationship. So, I mean, this is what I think.
Very
Like,
good.
if you build a relationship, then that is something personal and deeper rather than just a connection.
Yes. And the reason we share this is it makes that distinction, because everybody's talking about referral, but advocate is actually better. And then yesterday, at yesterday's session, we also showed you some information from the Society of Human Resource Management that talked about just referrals in general, that they preferred employees who were referred to them. That's how they came into the company versus companies who just go in through the job portal. So that is one of the reasons. If I guess we could share that in the accompanying information with this video. But let us now go to this advocate link that has more resources for everybody on the video. So could you walk us through what's here, either of you? Do you remember what the links are?
I do remember. So basically, I went to some of the blogs that were present in this particular link, and I can recall that it was like about making your LinkedIn better, making like kind of basically preparing tools in such a way that you actually can attract the person you're talking to, and then can like get their attention to get a referral.
Thank you. I guess, but what I was, thank you for that, Atishay. What I was trying to share
I
here, go ahead,
Fine.
Radhika.
Um, I also went through those blogs, and
These links are here.
yes, and
So can you
what
tell us what the links are for the benefit of the people just seeing this for the first time?
so basically, it's about how referrals, how America is like a referral based market,
Hmm.
and for referrals, you need networking. Networking is important. So it's like the job market is not just about applying and then waiting, but it's rather like we have to also follow up on our applications.
And the best way to do a follow-up is how?
The best way is definitely uh, texting them on LinkedIn, or maybe cold emailing them.
Mhm.
That is the best way. And if you can if you have them in person somewhere, if you meet them somewhere, so that
Mhm.
is different.
Sometimes you also have their phone numbers, right? Because I've heard of instances where students get the cell numbers of, for whatever reason, they have it. So you mentioned it, either LinkedIn, email, you can talk to them in person, or you can call them or text them. Okay. So, I mean, we live in an era where we have all these touch points, if you will. So the suggestion is do it respectfully, do it skillfully. And that's part of the skill that we're teaching in hashtag business relations. So thank you, Radhika. So the very first one talks about a video. It's an A to Z explanation of the similar concepts that we're talking about today. It's more structured in that it goes through all the points that Radhika just shared, because today's session is more so going to be addressing the issues that the participants off the call came to the call for. And that's why we asked Atishay and Radhika to share what they were expecting of this particular call. But if you wanted an explanation that was the A to Z of business relations, if you will, you could check out the video. The how to is actually a link in the index. The how to is actually talking about. So it's in hashtag business relations. Okay, this message, the third one that says connect cold, connect practice, and connect messaging. Did you guys go through that, Atishay and Radhika?
Yep, I can recall
Okay.
going through.
Okay, you went through it. So that was the second link. Second link, how to. The template is just a link to a Google Sheets where you can start recording the LinkedIn URLs of the people that you're reaching out to, so that you can create notes for yourself. Because, for example, if I spoke to a connection today and the connection said, "Oh, I just dropped off my daughter," and then we got into the conversation, knowing that the person has a daughter could be a good touch point the next time you talk to them. Okay, because if you're quote unquote talking to a stranger and then out of the blue, they would say, "Oh, how was your dropping off of your daughter today?" Number one, they'd be like, "Oh, how thoughtful." And then number two, you kind of start standing out because you're getting more personal. What about playlists? Did you go through the playlist, Atishay or Radhika?
Yes, I can recall some of the insightful videos. They were related to tailoring your LinkedIn and framing a message that you can actually send to people.
Very good. And then the last one is a link that talks about small talk, and it has resources to what Atishay and Radhika share. So, did you go through these links?
Yes. So
Any?
I remember that it talked about like kind of American culture, and it showed certain instances where you should mention, like you should actually, like what kind of distance that you should maintain while doing small talks. And I can recall some of the examples as well that were present in the blogs.
Very good. Oh, go ahead.
So basically, it was about that. So it's like a ritual in America. Small talk is like a ritual, and it's like their way of telling that I am friendly. I'm not going to hurt you, and you can be in this space with me safe.
Yeah, that's a very good way to describe it. It's like a signal, to your point, to signal to them that yes, I'm a friendly person. And it's kind of interesting that Radhika was saying earlier that when somebody says, "How are you?" Radhika shared that she has the tendency to tell them about their whole life story. Well, number one, it's a legitimate question. And Radhika, not knowing the whole background behind this, starts talking about her life story. So, but to your point, it's just a signal of the person saying, "How are you?" And, people, the usual answer is like, "Oh, I'm fine. Thank you." And you? It's like just a pleasantry. It's a formality, but people don't really care what your answer is. Sometimes, okay, and then again, it depends on the level of relationship. If you're actually closer friends, then somebody might be truly interested. But if it's a total stranger, and that's why we talk about cold connections. We say it's cold because it's somebody that you don't know. It's like a person that you met off the street. So that's what we call cold connection. And then the points that we talked about in the index, and then we'll go shortly. That cold, connect practice, and connect messaging. Those are actually groups of teachings here. Connect messaging is a group of messages. Connect practice are people we identified for you that you could practice some of these concepts. And then connect cold shows you how you could open up the conversation with another person. And just to continue from where we left off yesterday, we mentioned during the C-suite career strategy that there's a wrong way of speaking to a stranger from scratch. So the example we gave yesterday was this person is a Google hiring manager who just posted a job ad on LinkedIn, and then this is what the student sent to this manager. And part of what we said was this is too long, number one. Number two, it's intuitive. Everybody who's responding to this, because this is a big company, Google, who just posted a job, this message is not standing out because everybody's talking about themselves. And then number three, if you notice, this person is talking to a stranger, that manager from Google, and they're asking for a favor out of the gate. So part of what we said about when you design messages, especially with a stranger, the design principles, number one, it's got to be short. And the reason it's short is it's very strategic, because if I open up my inbox like so, it's very obvious whether the person, like this Ashley Miller, she said, yes, I can tell immediately if she's answering my question or whatever. Or if I sent a message that was, well, we can go through the examples before I let the cat out of the bag. Number two is whatever I'm saying, is it designed so that I expect a response from the other person? So if I say good morning, I'm kind of expecting them to say good morning. Okay. It's a very elementary example, but just to prove the point, whatever you're saying has to be designed so that you're expecting a response. And then the third thing, which we alluded to, don't immediately ask for anything. Sybil, welcome to the call.
Thank you.
Did I pronounce your name right?
Yes.
All right. Welcome to the call, Sybil, and thank you. Thank you for your feedback for yesterday as well. Sybil, I actually went through Radhika and Atishay, asking them what they were expecting out of this call. Was there anything you wanted to share with this group and for the people listening in as to what you were expecting from this call, so that I could address it within the hour?
Actually, yesterday's session was very informative, and it was I had like too many stuff to like it was very informative for me, so I just wanted to join the session to have more information
To learn
regarding-
some more. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks for joining us, Sybil.
Thank you.
So, yes. So like I was saying, whenever we design messages for LinkedIn, it's got to be short, uber short. It's a strategic move. Number two, it's worded such that I'm expecting a response. And then number three, don't make a request immediately. So with that said, I would like to go into the discussion that Atishay shared earlier. He said that he tried to apply some of these principles, but it wasn't on LinkedIn because he happened to have gone to an event last night that was in person. So he was trying to apply small talk. He was trying to apply opening up these relationships, because in a way it's a parallel path, whether it's in person or in LinkedIn. The whole idea is that you approach somebody that you don't know, you start creating a relationship. And I would like to take this break to say that creating business relationships is just like creating friendships. So Sybil, you have some friends, right?
Yes.
So I would assert that at some point, those friends of yours that you have were at one point strangers to you. So business relationships, personal relationships, they go along the same path. Strangers, you do something, and then they become your friends, or in the case for our business relationship purposes, you're hoping that they get to become either a referral or, better still, an advocate for you. Okay, so let's go back to Atishay. He's trying to make friends at this event he went to last night. So walk us through what you said, what was the experience, what was the discomfort, et cetera, and then let's talk about it.
Sure. So the very first pain point for me was that let's say that I want to kind of reach out to someone on LinkedIn, then there's an option to explore their profile, to come up with a door opener, and then basically I can perform some research on my own on LinkedIn, and then I can find that door opener. But in person, since I do not know anyone, right, in an event, so I mean, the very first pain point for me was like, how do I approach them? How do I open conversation? Now, what I tried was that I tried to bring AI in between, because it was an AI event. So I decided to like talk about their interests, and
Good
I
move.
talked about what they usually do. Are they students, or are they like working professionals? So this is how I approached them. But one thing that I noticed was that when they heard that I'm a student as well, so they tried to like shorten the communication. And I assume because they might also be looking for working professionals. So that was one of the major pain point that I had yesterday.
Okay, but so that was kind of like your perception. You were thinking that when they found out you were a student, that the interest level kind of went down because they're trying to network as well. Is
Yes,
that what I heard you say?
yeah, that is what I assume
Okay.
after having a conversation with them.
So you made a very good point. On LinkedIn, it's easier because you could research them and then you can find something to talk about. Because part of what we said yesterday is if you start talking about people, then they're much more likely to be engaged. Okay. That's the key point. You're trying to engage them. So that was Atishay's problem yesterday. And then that was a very smart move. You figured out that it was because it was an AI event that you would talk about AI, right? And your initial approach didn't work.
It actually did because I was actually able to talk a bit about them. I was able to talk about my projects.
Mhm.
So initially it worked, but I wasn't able to engage them. That is something I noticed. I was able to like kind of have a short communication, but my aim was to make long-term connections. So
Okay.
I think I kind of failed in that case.
Okay. So Atishay actually completed the homework from coming to C-suite yesterday about career strategy because he was able to open the door. Okay. And he was very strategic. He was like, okay, I'm at an AI event. I'll start talking about AI. So again, just to the resources, that part where I said connect cold earlier, Atishay kind of like passed with flying colors because he opened the door, they were talking. The part that he said where he wasn't sure where to go or he noticed the interest level fall down, this is what we talk about reading the room, reading the situation. So Atishay was kind of reading the situation in that he noticed that when they found out he was a student, that there was some sort of, number one, it could have been your perception, Atishay. Number two, it could have been true. Or number three, it could have been something else, right? We don't read minds, so we don't know that for a fact. But what I liked about what you shared is you actually had some reaction to what they were saying. Therefore, you had a perception of what was going on. Does it make sense, Sybil, Radhika?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is an example of what we spoke of yesterday where you read the room because that flavors what you say next. Okay, so did you ask one of the easiest answers as to how to get somebody more engaged is to have them talking about themselves. So did you notice in your back and forth, did you ask them more about them or was it you sharing about you?
So I tried to maintain a mutual conversation. So it was like kind of a back and forth where I talked about some of my projects and then I asked them about their interests.
Mhm.
And for example, there was this instance where I talked about AI and then the other person was interested in blockchain. So the
Mhm.
whole conversation inclined towards blockchain. And I was like
Mhm.
trying to engage them a bit more. So I told them that I was enrolled in some of the subjects related to blockchain.
Mhm.
And I do have some projects in that. So this is how the conversation went ahead after that.
So here's a question for you, Atishay. Because your perception was that because you were a student, you noticed the interest level go down. What would you have done different during the engagement?
So looking back at that situation, I should have kind of included some interesting projects or research topics.
Whose
Uh,
projects, yours or theirs?
Theirs, because I think the communication should be about them.
Yes,
So
that's
probably
key
I should
right
have,
there. And I noticed that you kind of said you want it to be like an even conversation where they share, you share. Here's another tip for you guys. If you notice that they're talking, keep them talking. Don't even share anything from your end. Okay? That's kind of
okay.
like one suggestion from you guys. If you notice that they're talking, especially because one of the things that people like to do is talk about themselves. Okay? The only reason you want to share something about you is because the conversation was dying. If Atishay knows that his student status may diminish the interest from the other party, talk about everything else, but don't talk about that you're a student, that you're in courses. You could just say, I read. They don't have to know that you read it from your textbook. Okay? Because you were reading the situation and you thought, okay, this could be true, it could be not true, but what I'm teaching you guys is reading the situation and acting accordingly. Okay. If they're talking, keep on asking them questions. Talk. They talk about themselves. And then the way to continue the conversation, Atishay, because you kind of said they say something, you say something, but they're saying something about themselves. You're saying something about yourself. So here's another trick for you. They're saying something about themselves. Engage them by asking them about them. Don't share anything about you. So it's still a back and forth, but guess where it's revolving around? It's revolving around their topic. And because you're focused on them, they want to talk about themselves, they'll keep on talking.
That makes sense.
Questions or reactions?
Yes, I think I should actually follow that approach next time, where I can like incline conversation more about them, and then
Yeah.
kind of cross question and can try to understand their interest in a deeper way.
Yeah. So the distinction that I made, sure, it's a conversation. So that means it's back and forth. But that doesn't mean the back and forth has to be about them and then about you, about them, about you. If you're trying to engage them, everything should revolve around them. So when you're speaking, you kind of point back to them. It's an art, but it's something for you to try during the next iteration of trying to do this in school. Actually, I suggest you practice with your classmates. Okay, they don't know that you're practicing business relations, but you're practicing small talk.
Sounds
I
good.
see Sybil smiling. What are you getting out of this conversation, Sybil?
I haven't practiced about that really, so I think I should try that.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion. And like I said, usually the conversation dies, or you can even think of this sometimes when somebody says, "Oh, I just had a great vacation in Argentina," or something like that, and then the other person says, "Oh yeah, I remember when I went to Argentina." So you're kind of like taking the spotlight away from the person who initially shared about Argentina, right? Because when you answer, you're saying, "Oh yeah, I went to Argentina to and this," and so you're kind of like grabbing the spotlight, bringing it to you. So notice that in your general conversations, okay? Whether you're the person who initiates or you're responding to somebody who shares something, okay? Sometimes when somebody shares, especially when they're excited, is they kind of want to brag, so to speak, about that, okay? But when you start sharing about, oh yeah, I did that, you kind of took the spotlight away from them. Again, this is part of reading the situation. So I want you guys to start practicing some of these concepts. So what we're speaking about is in person. It's going back and forth, but you could apply the same exact principles when you're going back and forth on LinkedIn. Okay. When somebody shares about themselves, you ask them a question and then they give you an answer. Instead of responding by giving something from your end, ask some more about them. Okay. So if you're looking for a job, this is like good information. And that's why we had that spreadsheet, because this is intelligence. You could note it down in your notes so that you could use it eventually, right? To build the relationship further. Radhika, what are you getting out of this?
I think that this is quite informative. So how to make conversations much like without making conversations awkward, and so that it just flows, like, without awkward silence, and it just keeps flowing. And I think that you mentioned that when someone is talking about something they are excited about, and when you also share your experience, like the same experience if you had any, so you are kind of taking the spotlight of that person. And that makes sense. That really makes sense, because it has happened with me personally. If I'm talking about something and then my friend is like goes like, oh, I did that too, so it kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, it does, right? In this
Yeah.
case, we're doing it for another reason, but again, we're talking about the dynamics of human communication. And like you said, Radhika, you've observed it in your friendships. And
Yes.
that goes back to what I said earlier. Creating business relationships versus personal friendships. Honestly, business relationships is really much, much easier than personal relationships because it doesn't take much for somebody to trust you and like make the exchange on a professional level versus a personal level. So I'm glad that you shared that. Good job. So Atishay, did you have anything else about like last night? Do you have like your next step for your next in-person meeting, or did you have anything else?
I think I do have my action items now.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, I
Any
think I should actually follow this approach whenever I'll go to in-person event next time. And at the same time, I'm like trying to, you know, take those inputs that you gave, and then I'll apply those to LinkedIn as well for
Yeah,
cold emailing and cold reach out. So yeah, uh, that would be nice. I do have my action items then.
very good. So now you don't even need to wait for the next networking event. I suggest that aside from practicing with your classmates, practice around the university. You have your professors, you have staff, you have administrators. Start getting to know people just from practicing this concept so that you can apply some of these principles. The reason I bring a non-student up is it mimics the professional environment in a networking situation, right? If you're speaking to your professor or an administrator, somebody who works in the office type thing. So start practicing some of these concepts.
Sounds good.
Very good. Radhika, did you want to go off of that? I'm giving you time, Sybil, so that you can collect your thoughts and bring some more things to the table because you obviously came later. Radhika, did you want to go through the next thing? Because otherwise, I'll go back to LinkedIn.
Next thing, as in like,
Whatever's on your mind. I mean, like I said, whoever attends in person, I'm addressing their issues. So this is about you because you're here present. I want to address your issues first before going, information for general consumption, if you will.
I think that so whenever we are talking to someone, and for instance, back in India, we refer to our seniors as sirs and madam. And what I
Very good
learned,
point.
yeah, what I learned after coming to the US was they are just taking each other's name and they are not being disrespectful.
Yes.
That's how
So
things work over here.
that's a very good distinction. That's one of the things that I also observed in other countries. Titles are very important. Okay. So you have to address somebody as doctor, like your professors or whatever, versus calling them just saying Bill. Okay. You refer to them as Dr. Bill, or you refer to them with their last name, right? It's very formal in other cultures, not in the US. People call each other by first name. So that's another distinction. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Radhika, because to Atishay's point earlier, he kind of observed some of these dynamics in person. Usually, if there is a hierarchy, like to Atishay's point, okay, we still don't know whether that's imagined or perceived from Atishay's standpoint, but I want to share this because you brought it up, Radhika. When you're communicating with somebody on LinkedIn, I don't care whether they're vice president or president of the company, American culture, address them by the first name. Addressing them by the first name is not being disrespectful because number one, it's the culture that we're immersed in, right? So that's the way American culture works. Okay. If it didn't matter that there was a hierarchy, then you do that. However, if job search is about standing out and you think that it might be to your benefit to call them sir or ma'am, this is what I'm introducing, reading the situation. Okay. Because I can be in this conversation and then I could say something like this, like, okay, you're next to speak now. And I'm speaking to Atishay, like for this call, for example, I could casually say, it's your turn, sir. It's again part of the culture where you can, it's not jokingly, but we could refer to somebody as sir, not in a formal way, but I could call Atishay, it's your turn, sir. You kind of get the informality. I mean, I'm not going to call you sir all this time, but once I could like bring that out into the picture. Was that confusing, Radhika? What are you getting?
No, I think I got what you said. And one thing I noticed that when you add someone's name, it becomes a little personal. That instantly catches your mind. Like it's like your thought process. You're like, okay, this
It
person's
does.
talking to me.
Yes. So the first gift that was ever given to you is your name. Okay. The first gift that was ever given to you is your name. So to your point, Radhika, if I refer to you as Radhika, I mean, it's music to your ears because that was the first gift ever given to you. And you could just, it's something that you're used to hearing. So actually, when you reach out to people in your first messages, that's actually one of the strategies that you shouldn't forget. So let's just say Radhika was a manager at Google. I will start my opening message. Or let's just say Radhika is a manager working at Google Chicago. Today's very cold weather. I could say, Radhika, comma, did you dress warm today? Question mark. But to your point, Radhika, I mentioned your name, so it catches their attention. And then number two, I read the situation. I was in a situation, Chicago, where it was very, very cold, and I was very relevant with my messaging. I expect them to react to it because it's quite visceral to everybody in Chicago today. It's cold outside.
True.
What did you get? What did you get out of that?
It's like both our purpose are getting fulfilled. First of all, you are grabbing their attention, and then at the same time, you are doing that small talk.
Exactly. Very good. So you're grabbing their attention and then you're opening small talk. And for the purposes of the people who are hearing small talk for the first time, small talk is just a way of engaging. Sometimes people talk about the weather. You could imagine if you're at a grocery store waiting in line, people talk about random stuff. Random meaning anything. You could talk about the weather. Yesterday it was brought up that sports is another thing. Or if you could see something that, somebody's dressed nicely, you could say, hey, that outfit looks nice on you. Okay. I would watch it if you're practicing sometimes because sometimes comments about personal appearance, if you don't know, it shouldn't be too personal. Okay, so in the beginning, you want to stay away from them, especially when you go to like an in-person networking. You can say something like, I like your shoes. That's not personal, right? I'm referring to the person's shoes. Okay, and then you have to take, again, part of reading the situation, male-female dynamics. Okay, take that into consideration with your comments. Okay, that you're opening with for small talk. Sybil, what are you getting out of all of this?
They're quite interesting. Actually, I do have a question for calling people by their name. If we're in in-person event and we'll asking directly to them, like how would they prefer to address us? Would that be a good approach or just?
It's a very good approach. Okay, number one, you're showing respect. Okay, which is sometimes it catches people's attention, right? When you ask a question, because we just established the fact that in America, that's what people do. They refer to each other by first name. But again, part of reading the situation, part of your strategy could be, yes, Miss Sybil, how would you like me to refer to you? For somebody that I met for the first time. So number one, it kind of like puts something in their mind that, oh, wow, somebody's actually asking for permission. Okay, so that's very good. Again, make it part of the reading the situation. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, it's not a one size fits all, but the point I'm trying to bring out with your comment is that question alone could make you stand out in a situation because number one, in the US, people just call each other by first names. Okay, not a lot of people ask for permission or preference, to your point. Very good question. Others? No? I'm going to
That's
finish up.
sorry
Sorry?
for interrupting. I actually have one question as well.
Go ahead.
Slightly off topic, but let's say that I went to an in-person event and then
Mhm.
I found a prospect who's willing to refer me to his company.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there has been the situation where a person mentioned that the openings will be present after 6 months,
Mhm.
but this event occurred recently. So, how should I like kind of follow up with that person in order to maintain the relationship and then like
Very
kind of
good question.
get the referral
Very
after
good question. It's like I set you up because that's exactly what we're talking about. To your point, they say it's going to be open in 6 months. The worst thing to do in that situation is because you found somebody who was willing to refer you. But if you wait until the 6 month mark, they'll forget about you, something happened, yada, yada, yada. So that specific example that you brought up is a prime example where you need to start building that relationship so that come 6 months, they know exactly who you are, just as fresh as this day. So between today and the 6 months later, you're sending, can you believe that cold today? Those types of messages, or in March, happy St. Patrick's Day, or in May, happy spring, that sorts of stuff. Or you could say, hey, Atishay, I remember our conversation at that event. I saw this article. I thought of you. And then you share the link to the article. So I'm giving you all sorts of ways to be in touch with people so that in your case, you're still top of mind 6 months later because of this quote unquote relationship that you're building. You're in constant communication. So very good. I'm glad that you asked that question.
Sounds good to me.
Yes. Other reactions or questions to that? Because the next thing I wanted to do for the last few minutes was to just give a quick example as to how to apply it on LinkedIn. Any questions before I finish this off with that?
Actually, I have a question about the first topic we talked about, like reading the room, asking questions about the other people. In my experience, sometimes I'm the third person in the room. And
You're the
sometimes
third person?
Yeah, so there's a
Okay.
lot of people talking, and sometimes it's hard to catch up the conversations going
Very
on.
good.
And
Very
so
good.
would you recommend anything on that?
Yes. So if you find out that there's a group of people that's already talking, and then you've identified that you want to get into that conversation, first thing that you do, kind of to Radhika's point earlier, when I say, how are you doing? It's just a signal that you're friendly. Okay. So let's just say this was a group of Radhika, Atishay, and Bernie. We're already talking, and then you just joined in. So one of the first ways to indicate that you're friendly is kind of like make eye contact, smile. Okay. With the people in the room. Or if that's uncomfortable, again, it's read the situation, because obviously maybe it might be uncomfortable if it was a group of men, right? And I'm the only woman, and then I go to that group and I start smiling. That could sound kind of look weird, right? The male female dynamics that I mentioned earlier. So what I would do out there is, kind of like acknowledge them or just nod your head. Nodding your head versus smiling are two different things. But what I would do in the beginning is to listen. Okay. As you're listening and then somebody's making a point, start agreeing or, whatever indication that you're engaging with them non-verbally. Okay. So what you're doing is signaling that you're friendly, you're listening. And then when you find a point where you can contribute, you're looking for an opening, then say something. Or you could say, oh, Atishay, that's a very good point. I like that. I didn't really say a whole lot, but I just agreed with Atishay, right? But guess what? I broke my silence. I just opened the door so that I could start talking. Making sense?
Yeah. And
What did you learn? What did you get?
I get asked that, but the first thing that came into my mind is at which point I should introduce myself, because probably they would not know me before.
Sometimes they don't care.
Oh,
So
okay.
you don't even need to introduce yourself. Okay. It's not imperative, especially in networking groups. Well, in a networking group, like where Atishay was yesterday, it's networking for the jobs. And again, reading the situation, people are there to introduce themselves. Okay. If it was one-on-one, Sybil, the situation wouldn't apply, but when you're talking one-on-one, then introductions are imperative. But when it's a group conversation like that, again, take a listen at the signals. Maybe everybody already introduced themselves and you're the only one that they don't know. Or nobody introduced themselves. You don't know that if you got into the conversation. That's why it's very important to listen, okay, and kind of feel the room. But to the question that you're asking, you don't need to introduce yourself, because if you said something that was truly, truly important to the other person and they really wanted to know, they'll ask you who you are.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll ask you who you are. So I just give some signals, I guess, that you're friendly, a smile, a nod, agreement, whatever. Or if somebody disagreed and then you like their point, you kind of disagree with them. It's up to you.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine it's right now. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. So you guys are reading the situation. I guess I can finish this off without even going to how to apply this with companies, because I think this was a very useful conversation. From your discomfort with some of these things, and you're clarifying it with somebody who obviously knows how you should act in such a situation. So did you want me to go into an example of a company, or did you want to finish this session off with whatever questions you had?
I'm fine with either way.
Fine with either way. No strong points. I'll make a very quick example then about a company so that you could apply this with LinkedIn. So Sybil, I'm going to start with you. Give me the name of a company that you want to work at.
AbbVie, it's ABB.
VIE?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're in biomedical engineering, AbbVie. So you click the company site, and this is the beauty of what I shared yesterday. The usual way of applying for jobs, as you realize, is you go to the job portals, apply for a job, and then you hope that you get the job. What we're teaching you with business relations is even if there are no openings, you could just go into the companies, you can create relationships, because if you find advocates within those companies, they'll tell you if there's an opening, or they'll think of you if there's an opening. Okay. So this is why I wanted to end this session by giving an example so you could start practicing and populating your Google Sheets. So let's go to AbbVie, like so. Any company will do. And then you see the part that says People, tabs. And then when you click People, well, for starters, it tells me that I already have 6 connections that work here. So one of the easiest things to do, Sybil, is I could click those connections, see who they are. Sometimes those are connections who I just collected. Remember that when I said I don't like to do networking, because sometimes people think it's just collecting connections. Sometimes there's people I have a relationship with, or sometimes I just connected with them. So now would be a good time to connect with them, because I am Sybil who wants to work for AbbVie, right? The next thing to do is just click to the, aside from connecting the connections that you already have, you could click People, and then within the People tab, you can look for where they studied. So good practice for you guys. I call it the low-hanging fruit, otherwise known as the easier people to connect with, are people who also went to Illinois Institute of Technology. So once I click that, voila, I have all these people who are identified who came to Illinois Tech. Okay, so let's click somebody out here. Pick one. I want this for you, Sybil. Who do you want me to pick?
The first person I saw, I guess.
Audrey?
Yeah.
So let's connect with Audrey. It says Illinois Institute of Technology. This is what Atishay was saying earlier. Their profile is the easiest way to find something about them so that you could open up the conversation with them, just like in our Connect cold messages, right? So I'm just going to do this because we're finishing up the session. For the listeners who don't know what Connect Cold is, you go back to the index and look for that set of messages that says Connect Cold. So we're going to go through Audrey's information. Let's see when she graduated from Illinois Tech. She graduated, oh, recent graduate with an MBA. Oh, she's actually still a candidate. So what would be a good opening for Audrey? So the three of you, I want you to come up with your ideas of how to open up the conversation with Audrey. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. I want to get your wheels spinning along those directions. So my expectation is after this call and learning some more of this stuff, you start practicing with all those connect practice people in the index and start applying some of this so that by the next time we have a call like this, you can tell me about what stopped you in those outreaches. Remember what I said in the C-suite class? The learning is not in getting to know the concept. The learning is when you apply it and then you get stuck and then you have somebody coaching you through it. That's the biggest learning that will help you through job search. So just to give you examples, you could say, I could say, Audrey, I see you're in second year at IIT. So you see how it's short and how it's designed to get a response. Because if somebody going to IIT messages somebody from IIT, number one, if you're a stranger, they'd be like, who's asking me about IIT? Guess what the effect is? They will check out your profile and then it also says IIT. So you're creating that background of relatedness. What are other easy examples for Audrey? And why don't you talk about her work? So what could we say from knowing that she's worked at AbbVie for 7 years? Anybody?
So we can probably say something like,
tell me verbatim what you'll say. You're going to start with Audrey.
Yeah, Audrey, and then something like, congratulations on working for 7 years at AbbVie, something like that.
Okay, hang on. So tell me what you said again.
So
the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is so that you see whether it's long or short. Okay. So you said, Audrey.
The very first message that I would send is, Audrey, congratulations on 7 years working at AbbVie. And then I would probably wait for her response.
Very good. You learned from Srilas's suggestion yesterday. This is good. Okay. So let me just send this message. And guess what? If you take a look, at why isn't it responding? Well, regardless, you can see I was hoping to demonstrate it in person, but with technology, it doesn't always work. Okay. This is very short. It's going to show up on the message box. So good job, Atishay. Civil and Radhika, did you get anything out of that share? I want you to start practicing with the practice people and then start reaching out to the companies that you want. Any questions about what I shared?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
You can go. So I don't know, it may be because of my culture background, but don't they ask who is this person when they found my message first time?
You don't care.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, that's why we're being strategic about what they say. Number one, we don't control what they think.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So even if you knew the answer to that, or even if you knew for a fact that they would be like, who is this person? Do you control it? No. But that's why it's very strategic. If you go again through Connect Code, I'm giving you examples of very obvious things. Okay. So let's say it's January 31st. I'm going to send a message saying, Audrey, happy February. Do you notice how I'm being strategic because I'm sending this on January 31st? It's not even February. Right? Do I care that they saying, who's greeting me February? They answer if they answer. If they don't, I'll probably try again. Okay. But I don't control what they're thinking. Okay. So again, That's why I want you guys to practice. So you get some experience under your belt as to what works, what doesn't work. Very good question, Sybil.
Thank you.
Final questions? So you guys got your homework?
Yes.
So your homework is start practicing some of the concepts that you learned today so that you have more questions next week. Radhika, you were saying something?
No, I'm good.
Okay, you're good? All right, guys. Number one, thank you for attending today's session. A very, very cold day. We're very, very warm on Zoom. And my hope is that you practice some of this. If you have any questions before next Friday, message me directly on LinkedIn. All right?
Yep.
All right,
Sounds good.
guys. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
for attending. We'll see you soon or see you on LinkedIn.